We are here. We are Eric and Krystal with the Dog Psychology and Training Center. And what are we going to be talking about today?
Let's there we go.
Tilt
Look at us.
a little bit.
We're more centered. How good.
Check it out. Check it out.
Scoot over a little bit closer here. All right. Hey, guys. So I'm Krystal from the Dog Psychology and Training Center. We often hear from families that share things with us that are very confusing for us as dog trainers. And I know they mean well, but it just, for us, we want to be able to help people. We want to be able to restore, that sanity, that calm, that peace in the home. And when they have a disruptive dog, who's great 98% of the time, and it's that 2% that the dog's, disruptive and causing problems, they think they can just live with it or manage it. Or that little issue should be really quick to fix because it's only 2% of the dog.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We often hear, when we do our discovery sessions or we talk to people on the phone or via email, we'll ask them, so tell me some of the difficulties you're having with your dog. Well, he's perfect, except he just bit so-and-so. And so we'll ask, has he drawn blood? Yeah. Do they have to get stitches? Sometimes, yeah. But he's great other than that, which we don't doubt. But I feel like because the majority of the time their dog is good, they think that 2% where the dog has attacked somebody, drawn blood, and caused that person or other animal to get stitches, it should be a really quick fix. So they don't want us to do a program. Yeah. They just want like one lesson. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, and why we can't just do one lesson, because that would be a disservice to them, a disservice to us. I always tell people I do this job because I work for praise, just like dogs. I love to just have that moment where the family sees how well behaved their dog can be all the time. And so for me, that's like that most rewarding moment where, when they called us, they were in despair. Their dog, was doing anything as little as, like puppy nuances to, aggressive behaviors. And we start working with them, and the after product is a dog who's well behaved, who has impulse control. And so like the owners are just elated. And that's why we do this. I love dogs and I love people, but that's my moment right there. And so when families call us and say, well, we just need 1 or 2 lessons. My dog's, great other than, he just needs more socialization, which we'll get into in just a second. So don't let me forget the socialization part. But it's really important, I think, to realize that 2% that your dog is off, that's a lot of bad habit. It's a lot of reactions and not thoughts, like good thought processes. A dog should see something happening, whether it's another person or another dog walking by, and they should look to you and say, hey, owner, hey, mom, hey, dad, is that person cool, or should I take care of them for you? And so that's a healthy relationship. Yeah. That relationship has respect. It has trust. It has proper leadership. They say dogs have the average IQ of a toddler. They're not equipped to be leaders. If you've ever lived with a toddler, you know how scary that thought is, to live at the demands of your toddler. Like, I would surrender right now and be like, I'm out. But because they're irrational and they can't think things through. So you have to be your dog's leader, whether that means, being the mom and dad or just being a pet owner. You have to take charge and you have to set rules and boundaries in place for the safety of your family, for your dog, and for the rest of the community. So let's go back to why we can't do it in 1 or 2 lessons, or even a handful of lessons, and why we need, an intensive program that can be 3 or even 4+ weeks for dogs that have broke skin and have caused people or other animals to get several stitches. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a defining moment. Most of our programs and stuff, we let you pick what's your dream dog, as far as like manners and stuff. But for dogs that have actually broke skin and caused an animal or a person to have to go to a doctor's office or a hospital, be hospitalized, they instantly get into our Deluxe Plus program because we need time. Yeah. And it's something that we can't rush, we can't force, because our whole premise with dog training isn't to force your dog to listen. And it isn't to bribe your dog to listen. To do both of those, sure, you could do that quickly. Hey, if you have a higher reward than the joy your dog gets from biting so-and-so, you could say, hey, I'll give you this spoonful of peanut butter. But I have all the people who have contacted us who maybe have tried that method before, all of them have said horrendous things like, yeah, I tried to give him a spoonful of peanut butter, so he bit my face instead. And so that doesn't work, because when dogs get to that arousal level of like attack, they don't think, I'm hungry, or that sounds tasty right now. It's, I need to get that, and I need to get that now. It's like tunnel vision. If you think of, the best analogy I have is, if you have a drunk guy at a bar, and he's already ready to like just start swinging his fist, and his guys are holding him back, and then they let him go, and his wife steps in his way to say, hey, stop. She's probably going to get slugged in the face. Not because he meant to hit her, because he was already swinging. And that's where those dogs are right now. Like, they're in their swinging mode. So if you get in their face to try to say, hey, stop it, they're going to bite you, because it's what's called displaced aggression. It's not personal. You were just there. You were in their way. And so I lost my train of thought. Get me back on track.
Like well, one of the things you mentioned was bribery.
Okay, so yes. So bribing doesn't work in that type of situation. The other way would be force. Like, yeah, we could probably beat the crap out of your dog so he physically couldn't go attack that other person or dog, but that's not what we want to do. That's awful. That's not a way to train a dog. That's abuse. But it would stop your dog from attacking another dog.
And I would say too, with using strictly using force or food or bribery or anything like that, you're always going to be dependent on that. If your dog's in a situation where they have those same feelings or thought processes again, if you're not there to force them to stop or bribe them to stop doing it, and they're making a choice on their own, they're going to make the instinctual, the first thing that comes to their mind, that's what they're going to act on. They're not going to they're not going to wait for you to come wave something in their face or distract them. So what we want to teach your dogs is to actually make a good choice.
And just to circle back to that, so maybe your dog isn't that bad. Maybe your dog just has what we call reactivity, where he hasn't actually bit somebody, but he is just really reactive. He barks, he lunges, and you question, like, maybe someday he might attack another dog or another person. But right now, at this point in his life, he has not escalated that bad. And so maybe you can still bribe him, or maybe you can still physically restrain him with a leash. But that won't last long as your dog continues to escalate. And so, like Eric said, you always have to have food or force. And we don't want that. So our whole premise with food and force, you're missing one key component. It's the missing ingredient. It's the most important thing to any relationship. And it's relationship. Your dog doesn't have a relationship with you that includes trust, respect, and leadership. You have, go ahead.
And yeah, just to elaborate on that, because, we have this conversation with families frequently. And I think one thing that sometimes, if we don't spend a little bit of time talking about, can be misunderstood. Like, you can totally have a fantastic relationship with your dog. And, when we say your dog doesn't trust you, I think, what we're talking about is your dog doesn't necessarily trust that you fully understand what they need, how to keep them safe, and how to communicate so they understand that everybody's on the same page. Because if you're not reading your dog's signals and you're not responding to them, then your dog is going to have a lack of trust that you are equipped to lead them when they are in a situation that is uncomfortable. Because let's say, for example, if you're walking down the street and they're giving you some signs like, oh, I don't know if I want to get that close to that dog, and you continue to walk right next to that dog and put them in a situation that they just said, I'm really uncomfortable, I don't know if I can be that close to them, and you continue to push and push and push and put them there, you're not realizing what you're doing, but you're breaking down your dog's trust in you to lead them and keep them safe.
Thanks for elaborating, because I know I said the thing you're missing in your relationship is relationship. So that's what I meant. And that's what we do. Everybody's relationship with their dog is based on love. You love your dog and your dog loves you, which is great, but you need more to that than just love. And that's where that communication comes in, to let the dog know, I really do know what's best for you. Whereas right now, he's questioning you because you're not reading his body language, because you're not born speaking dog. That's why we're here. And we're not saying you're doing something wrong or that you're not good enough. We're just saying you don't know what you don't know.
And your dog probably also fully believes that you mean well. Like, you know, I don't think there's much doubt in that. Your dog probably totally knows that you mean well, but there's still a piece missing.
Yep. So the part of our program, the reason it's several weeks long, is because it takes time to build a healthy relationship. You don't just meet somebody on a first date and say, let's go get married, if there's no drugs or alcohol involved. Normally, you don't do that, okay? When you're under substances, anything's possible. But with a dog, it's the same thing. You can't just meet a dog, love at first sight, of course. But is there that trust there? Is there that respect there? You have to get to know them first, and they have to get to know us. And so that's part of the reason our program is several weeks long, because you can't rush a healthy relationship. And so, again, to kind of break it down and let you know why it takes long, the aggression, the reactivity, even the little things like jumping and barking, those aren't the problems. Those are the side effects that you're seeing. And they're no different than if you had a runny nose and a sore throat and you went to the doctor and said, I have a runny nose and a sore throat, and they give you a box of tissues. Does that help you? I mean, it helps you catch your snot so you don't look gross, but does it really stop the snot from running? No, it's just a plug. We don't want to plug your dog's issues. We want to fix them. And so if the doctor says, sounds like you're coming down with the flu, let's get you some Tamiflu. Okay, cool. He just stopped the problem. The problem wasn't the runny nose, and it wasn't the sore throat. It was the underlying issues. And the underlying issues that comes with any dog's problem is that trust and that respect. They're not there to the point that they need to be for your dog to surrender, to just say, you know what, you're in charge. I know you got this. You're so smart. You always know what I'm thinking. You got this. And so backing it up, our program, we start with building trust and relationship. How do we do that? A lot of times it's just playing. We cuddle with dogs. We love dogs. So we spend time with them, but that play isn't just like free play. Like, we're learning your dog. We're learning their personality. We're learning how they think, what choices they make, what choices they don't make, how they react to certain things like spatial pressure, and we're just feeling everything out in those first few days, so that when we start the obedience training, which is another thing that people tell us all the time. My dog knows sit. My dog knows down.
Yeah,
Great.
like if it's somebody who has, like, if we're talking about a reactive, aggressive dog, or a dog that just needs socialization, like, they know all their obedience commands. Yeah. But if they really knew them and did them consistently, reliably, if you were seeing that your dog was going to have an outburst in any sense, you should be able to give them an obedience command
or a recall
and completely eliminate the possibility for that situation to occur.
So when people say, my dog's perfect, he just tries to rip off Bob's face. Okay, well then tell your dog to sit. If he's perfect, if he knows his obedience really well. So one of the things we often get families that have tried training, sometimes they went with 1 or 2 or even 3 other trainers before they came to us, and their dog has solid obedience when there's no distractions. But as soon as the real world kicks in and you have, squirrels running by and dogs and kids that are unpredictable, it's all out the window. Their dog doesn't know how to work in that type of environment. Hey, Chris. Chris just joined. So when we say, we start with that relationship building, and then we go to the obedience. We start with the basic obedience because we don't want to overwhelm your dog. We don't want them to think, oh, this is really hard, I quit. We want to slowly build up what we call the distraction ladder, starting with something that's the easiest thing and working our way to the most difficult thing. So if your dog is highly aggressive to other dogs, we would start with no dogs around. We would start in an enclosed room, and we would start throwing any little distraction, because there's always distractions. Like walking a circle around your dog. You'd be surprised at how difficult that is at first. Maybe it's dropping their least favorite toy and working their way up to the most favorite toy. Maybe starting with their kibble that they eat every day, so it's boring, and then working up to their most favorite treat, or human food like potato chips and popcorn and carrots and maybe steaks if Eric's friendly enough to let me borrow his dinner for training purposes. But we think of what could make him break his sit. Let's try that. And once we've thought of everything, like sometimes there's like hundreds of trials that we do thinking of different things that we can try, then it's time to introduce a dog far, far, far away.
I think one of the big things that scares the crud out of me is when people when they say like my dog isn't good around other dogs, has attacked a couple dogs, that's my only issue, he just needs more socialization. And I'm like, ooh, like I would strongly recommend you not get your dog, just put your dog around other dogs, because that window is long gone. Like when you've got a puppy, you've got a young puppy, socialization, get them around as much as you possibly can. You want them to experience the world.
Good, healthy socialization. Don't let your puppy go around strange dogs you don't know. Because they could attack your puppy. It's happened. You've
always got to use your best judgment. But the big thought, or the principle when you have a puppy is socialization is exposure. Like get them healthy exposure to a lot of different things earlier in their life, so they don't see those things later in life and be like, oh my gosh, I've never seen that before, and freak out.
I never heard that, or I never smelled that.
So like we're talking about dogs that they're beyond that window, right?
Like, because they've already broke skin, like they've already attacked, possibly mauled.
Just at that point, just getting your dog around other dogs is not going to fix the problem.
Please don't take them to a dog
You
park.
are more likely to do more harm, because your dog is, especially once they've already bitten another dog or even tried several times to bite a dog, like the potential that they're going to do that again is far greater. So you need to have them in a mental state and you in a mental state that you can address those kind of things before they happen, when you are ready to expose your dog to other dogs. Because just throwing them in a group of dogs, or even one-on-one going on, getting around other dogs, like you are setting yourself up for failure by doing that. And anybody who recommends your dog just needs socialization, I would question that strongly.
That's a great point. And one thing that you mentioned, there's two things. I want to use an analogy. But the other thing that Eric mentioned was that when you are ready, the human, if you've ever witnessed a dog fight or a dog attacking somebody or biting somebody, it's very emotional. And there can be some trauma that you have incurred from witnessing that. And so when you go back out into public, or you have your dog and you see another dog in the distance, you get triggered as well. And so your pulse, your pulse rises, your blood pressure starts to go, you hear the thumping in your ears, and you start breathing fast, and your dog feels all of this and becomes that much more reactive. So make sure that you're in a healthy mindset, which is something that we help with as well, to be prepared for that. The other analogy I want to use, because like Eric said, you can't just take your aggressive dog to a dog park or just put him in the room with the other dog and they'll hash it out. No, they'll kill each other. Dogs are animals. They're not kids, and you shouldn't even put two violent kids in the same room together. Like, that's a bad idea. But if you think about a surgeon or a doctor, they spend a lot of time prepping for that. They don't just say, you know what? I think I want to do heart transplants. You ready to lay down and let me try it? Like, they have to learn different ways, different parts of the body, different things that could happen during the surgery so that they can be prepared.
Because that's a high stakes event.
Yeah, exactly. And so the same thing for dogs. Like, we have to teach them all possible scenarios that could arise in their life, the rest of their life, so that they can be prepared mentally to say, oh yeah, we went through this, or we went through something similar to this. I know what to do. Instead of being like, yeah, we spent all this time training, but we didn't really, throw in a whole bunch of distraction work for your dog. So then they get to something that's like, this is unfounded. I've never seen anything like this. And they react their old ways because they haven't been trained through it. They haven't been equipped for it. They haven't learned what to do.
Yeah, it hasn't become a reflex for them to say, I don't know about this. Do you know about this? And look to you. Right. And that's what we want. We want that to be their instinct, their reflex becomes, I don't know. You've always had the answer for me before and you've never led me astray. Like, I trust that you know what's best and you're going to lead me best. What do I do here? Like, that's what we want. And once you're there, you can get into different scenarios and environments and trust that you're going to be able to guide your dog through that.
But also understand too that we don't have magic pixie dust. If your dog has several bites on his record, chances are he's not going to be a social butterfly, and he should not be put into situations that could trigger past experiences. So when we work with dogs that are, human aggressive or dog aggressive, obviously those dogs are going to see other people and dogs in passing, but they should never be, left unattended in the same room as them. Like, if you have to go to the vet's office, have your dog in a heel so they can't look at those other dogs. They're focused on you. They sit down. You instantly put them in a down command facing a wall, and they can't feel threatened by those other dogs. I think a lot of times too, people call us thinking we're miracle workers, and we're going to take this dog that's hospitalized 2 other dogs and we're going to let them have social play dates. No, he's got some past experiences there. Like, he can't handle that because we all have impulse control. It's kind of like me in the chocolate aisle. If we go grocery shopping and we go down the chocolate aisle, I love me dark chocolates and I love trying new ones. And I will get like 3 or 4 different candy bars that cost like $5 a piece because they're like good quality dark chocolate. And so if Eric's with me, he can actually, he's very strategic in how he places like the cart between me and the chocolate aisle so that I don't go down that aisle, because if I'm not exposed to it, I don't feel like I have to. Like, oh man, I'm salivating. I need to buy these. So again, just knowing ourselves and our boundaries, what we're capable of. Your dogs have boundaries too, and there's only so much they can take before they feel like they have to just explode. So I just want to throw that in too.
Yeah.
So programs take time. They're programs for a reason. I wish we could fix your aggressive dog in one lesson. It's just not possible because there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of behavioral modification that goes through not just the aggression part, but sometimes the more simplistic things like obedience and making sure that your obedience is perfect in any environment, not just in your living room when nobody's around and you have food in your hands. Like, we want your dog to listen no matter what. Like, if you see another dog across the street or even an off-leash dog, you tell your dog to sit or down, and then you defend or advocate your dog from that stray dog getting close to them. And so that's that trust in that relationship that we're talking about. So I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want you to think we're pointing fingers at you. I just want to clarify why we can't do what some families think we should, because that 98% of their dog is great. It's that 2% of the time that they have company over or, on the walk and they see another dog that their dog is berserk. And so they think it should be a quick fix, but it's not. And it takes a lot of time, just like with us humans, to not only stop a bad habit, but to create a new good habit to replace it. Otherwise, we just fall right back into our old bad habits. So,
it's very much like a rehab program.
It is.
Like, you don't, when you've got serious, if you need
addictions, they're like addicted to biting people or other animals.
Yeah. So, I mean, consider like a rehab program. You don't just have somebody go spend a night somewhere and,
he's great. He detoxed. Let's go home.
Like, it's a process. It is a full process, and there's a reason for all these steps. And if you cut that short, then you're likely to have more problems in the future, or you find that you've gotten a little bit of results, but if you don't change that mindset, as soon as your dog comes out of that, if they do a training, you just do a couple sessions and you see some progress, and then you're like, oh, cool, like, we're good. Now, when you get them back in that same situation and they act out again, you're square one. You are right back to where you started before you did anything.
Because you just lost all trust. Your dog just thought, oh, maybe she or he has it under control now. No.
Yeah.
No. They didn't get it. They didn't understand me. They didn't hear me. So part of our program, I always tell people, jokingly, but it's really true, we teach you to speak dog, and we teach your dog to speak English, or at least to understand English, not speak it, because it has to be that two-way communication between you and your dog for that trust and that respect and that healthy relationship to prosper. Without it, it's kind of like a Jenga tower that has too many Jenga pieces missing. Your tower is unstable, and they're never going to trust you.
Yeah, I mean, to the point that you said about learning the languages, like if you had had a coworker or a foreign exchange student that you guys like didn't speak any of the same language, I think regardless whatever your interactions were, you'd always have a hard time fully trusting that person. Because you don't know what they're saying. They don't know what you're saying.
Like they could be saying, the house is on fire, you need to leave. But they're trying to keep you calm so they're not screaming. And you're like...
So yeah, bridging that gap is absolutely crucial, that you guys totally understand each other. Cool. You got any final notes?
No, but I don't. I think we covered
We covered some stuff. Feel free to comment if you agree or disagree with what we talked about today. I think myself and Krystal would be happy to elaborate on anything if it didn't totally make sense.
And if we're wrong and you can cure aggression in one lesson, let us know. We'd like to know how to.
I'll pay good money to come do a weekend workshop. Faux show. And I'm not being sarcastic.
Right.
So cool.
All right.
Any closing statements?
No, that's all we got, guys. If you have a friend or know of somebody who could benefit from this video, please share it or tag them in the comments. We post these to help people, so help us help people. Otherwise, we will see you guys all again next Thursday at 7:30.
7:30. Subscribe to our videos if you like these at all.
You don't want to miss them.
The little 3 dots up in the corner of your screen, hit that, and you can hit subscribe, and you'll get a little ping next time we go live. Subscribe, so you get a ping when we go live. That was too many syllables. It didn't work very well. But
it's almost right. It's almost right.
I'll work on that. See you guys later.
All right. Bye, guys. See you.